It's my feel-good breakfast show.
Welcome to it. We're continuing our health discussion with Dr. Darren Green this morning. We're talking about hypertension or high blood pressure. If you suffer from it or if you have any questions around it, you can get in touch 0839 133728. Our lines are now open. Dr. Darren, so we started off talking about, is there a cure for hypertension, or once you have it, is this pretty much something that you need to deal with for the rest of your life?
Sure, that depends on which one you have. So
Okay.
the classification is basically divided up into primary essential hypertension, which often is genetic. So, nothing you've done has actually led to it. Your predisposition is there just genetically with regards to the arteries and the elasticity and the receptors in the human body. But then you have, obviously, the other secondary hypertension, secondary to other medical conditions, secondary to our lifestyles of being perhaps overweight, being inactive or sedentary, and what we eat, for example. Okay. So, yeah, sure, there are cures for hypertension, most definitely. But if you have genetic hypertension and you have a predisposition to it, you might need to be on treatment lifelong, although lifestyle is proven to be an incredible rectifier of the problem.
Looking at your diet, looking at constant exercise and all of that. But we also mentioned that hypertension is also known as the silent killer. Now,
Correct.
are there any symptoms to kind of give you an indication that you might be suffering from high blood pressure?
So it's called the silent killer because you don't often have symptoms until it's too late. You often present with that stroke way down the line after one of the blood vessels have actually popped in the brain, leading to a hemorrhage or a stroke, for example, or due to the chronic stretching of the blood vessels, you develop pathology inside the tube or the blood vessel itself, leading to strokes or heart attacks. So early symptoms that you might pick up are things like just being excessively tired from having a high blood pressure in your system. Secondly, obviously, you could have a bit of dizziness. There's a misconception that headache is often caused by high blood pressure. It's more a giddy feeling, a little bit of dizziness, and just a fullness sensation in the head rather than a headache. Those are typically things that people complain of.
I think also something that we do wrong in our diets, we add too much salt. And I also know that salt is connected to hypertension, but why is that? What is it about salt that causes high blood pressure?
Yeah, so what our human body does in order to dilute that salt is it holds on to water. So the whole control of hypertension and blood pressure in our system is mediated by chemical hormones that control, we can see a blood vessel over there, but the kidneys, for example, have blood vessels, hundreds of them, that are twisted on top of each other with a filtration system. And what happens is, as these chemical hormones are released, it then controls the permeability or the filtration rates in the kidney, lets you let go of fluid or keep it. And when you have lots of salt, for example, a message is sent via chemical messengers to the kidneys to say, don't secrete too much water, hold on to some water, then you have retention of water. That's why people complain often of swelling or puffiness of the hands, face when they have hypertension.
All right. Well, we have a caller on the line, Robert from Port Elizabeth. Robert, are you there?
Yes, I'm still here.
Good morning, Robert. What's your question to Dr. Darren?
My blood pressure was from a doctor was 280 over 190. I want to know how high risk value is that. And
it's very high risk.
That's very, because the norm is 120 over 80.
That's almost double what it should be. And obviously that's important. When someone with a blood pressure that elevated comes in and sees us in an emergency setting, the first thing we have to do, obviously, is exclude malignant hypertension, which means we have to look for sites of bleeds or blood vessels that are actually bursting due to that pressure in the system. We look in the eyes, we look at the retinas, for example. Very important. And then obviously we look at the condition of the heart.
What would you advise Robert to go do?
No, well, he'll be admitted for that blood pressure. He shouldn't have been sent home. I hope he wasn't. And he'll have to be obviously monitored in the hospital ward where he'll receive medication to bring it down. Also get quite a few blood tests done to look at his kidneys, his liver, and the condition of his cardiovascular system.
Perfect. Dr. Darren, thank you so much. We're talking hypertension this morning. If you have any comments or queries, phone us 0839 133728. Dr. Darren Green is on hand to answer your questions. Right now, here's Zoe.